This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Welcome to Talking Shit, ladies and gentlemen. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is Mark. Mark, who is the podcast of the month before we get started here?
Beb's Video Kingdom. And you can find them on the deluxeedition.com or network, and with a ton of other great podcasts. And they got some good ones over there.
That's right. Get over there and check the Deluxe Edition Network out for all of the podcasts that they have, including Bev's. All right, Mark, who is up today?
We have Andrew.
Wait a minute. The guy that couldn't make it yesterday?
Yeah.
He's here today?
Yes.
Holy cow.
Who the hell is this?
I don't know.
Hey, all right, there we go. I made it.
Who's that?
I have no idea. The Hispanic causing panic.
Was somebody talking crap about me?
Somebody was talking shit.
Yes.
I don't know who this is.
I don't know who that is.
I don't see it in the chat. What, it is in comments?
You can't. No, you can't see who it was.
Someone was able to hack our. Yeah, someone was able.
Somebody
to hack
was in our green room.
Oh no way! Oh, see, actually, I brought in the trolls. I'm sorry.
All good.
Yeah, figures.
That's crazy. Oh, let him
so,
in.
ladies and gentlemen, Andy and I go back a little ways back in when we were in the military together, and we did some indies. You know, he actually was a good instructor, good teacher for me in a little promotion called SAW, and another promotion that he started with his tag team partner, Ryan Stone, as you guys know him, Trevor Allen, his real name. And that promotion was New Wave Pro Wrestling. That almost got me in serious trouble with the military for some damn reason. Who cares? That was in the past.
I remember that.
We had to break that ring down in what, an hour? They gave us an hour.
They're on their way. Yeah.
I was like, son of a bitch.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute, because I want to know why that actually happened.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that later in the show. So, Mark, I know you got a lot of questions from my friend here, Andy. So I'm going to let you go ahead and.
All right. First off, I'm sorry that you had to, deal with Brian in the military. I've had to deal with him my whole life, so just about. I started watching your TikToks, and I had never laughed so much, especially with you and your wife. Now, did you guys start this as a joke and say, when you started doing that app?
No, well, I mean, yes and no. I had I have a stepdaughter, my wife's daughter. She was, I think, 12 at the time, and she told me like, hey, you should download TikTok. And I was just like, I'm not, it comes a time in your life when you wake up and you realize you're not invited to the party anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell what the weather is going to be, the way your back feels when you wake up in the morning. And like, okay, man, I'm not, I'm too old for TikTok essentially. But I downloaded it anyway, and I tried to post a couple videos, and they just bombed. I think my first really exciting video that I did got 1,000 views, and I thought that was the business. It wasn't until the very first video I ever had her in just happened to go viral, and that was probably, I'd say, maybe a year or so doing TikTok just by myself with nothing, and then we did a video that went viral where this chick we stitched some chick says, tell me you have a big package without telling me you have a big package. And I said, tell him, honey. And she said, he doesn't, you know, and we planned this whole thing out. I was like, you bitch. And, and that was it. That was the whole thing. The whole thing lasted like our part lasted probably less than 4 or 5 seconds. And the video, like overnight, did, I want to say, like 3 million views. Like the next day it had 3 million views. And I said, well, crap, maybe we should just do stuff together from now on. And so we did stuff together from now on. And all of it, for the most part, all of our content has always just been kind of geared towards being funny. We would watch videos together and say, you know, that'd be funny to stitch that, you know, in somebody. And it's always involves like sexuality. Always, like with our content, it's like, you know,
yes.
Sexual, you know, or people that are like really into fitness. They, you know, they'll post things like, okay, we got to do something on that because we're fat. So, you know, we wanted to post videos that seemed very organic and come off as just her like one-offs, like kind of being mean to me, like, oh, I got you in the moment. When in fact, and I hate to spoil it for anybody that is watching and likes to watch me on TikTok, they're very much planned out that way. There, you know, it's a work, as we say in wrestling. It's
absolutely,
it's a total ruse, but yeah, I now, you know, while it didn't start out that way, it is now. It's definitely turned into this comedic couples TikTok, where it's just not myself anymore, and that is the whole humor. Is just kind of her shitting on me all the time, but seems to work for people. Like they dig it, and it's funny because I get a lot of comments from like the alpha males. That will say, well, what, you know, imagine if the roles were reversed in this situation. I get a lot of those. And then it's great because people in the comments will fight with the alpha males. The alpha males will come back in and they'll, you know, and then it'll turn political and all this other garbage. And I don't necessarily read all the fights, but it's great for algorithm purposes, right? Because I'm getting a lot of comments in my videos, and now I'm getting people coming back to fight with each other, you know, and they're watching my video again. So yeah, it's good for me. So now it became like less of like a one-off that we would do, more to like a pretty consistent hobby that is, truth be told, is starting to kind of, you know, pay some bills, which is kind of exciting.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But now the government's going to get their hands in that too, right?
Oh no, they do. Yeah, totally. I owed so much in my taxes yesterday. My tax guy was like, okay, listen, you know, I mean, I know you drive to work. You know, you want to write off your gas mileage and all this. He's like trying to find me ways to get like, not be like knee deep in the hole. But yeah. But I mean, it's worth it. I was able to, you know, with the love and support that I get with social media. It's not just TikTok. My Instagram is starting to kind of grow, to grow. But with all that, I'm starting to, you know, do stuff for like my family that I was never able to have when I was a kid. You know, we literally, you know, we paid for my, not out in full, but we put a nice chunk of a down payment on, you know, my house and I bought a Tesla. So, you know, we were able to do that with TikTok money, you know, and it's all about like the love and support of my,
you hear that, right? With TikTok money, he bought a Tesla.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm not buying a Tesla.
No, I'm not buying a Tesla neither, but you know. What?
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, you got, yeah, I know.
We live in Florida.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, all right. You keep the trucks, you keep the gas guzzlers. That's fine.
Hey, I like my Dodge. My Dodge Ram's fine.
I'll tell you, my favorite car I ever owned was an old Ford Mustang. So,
mine was my very first car. I loved it. It was a '79 Mercury Capri. You know, it resembled a Mustang in the '80s. You know, it was great.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Is that the car that had no reverse and we had to Flintstone that son of a bitch out of parking lots?
Yes.
It was such a pain in the ass. I hated that car. The best cars.
It was.
I hated his car. I hated it.
Yeah, but it got him to school.
When you're young, especially when you're younger, right? Any car is a good car.
You know? Oh, absolutely.
My first car was an '89 Acura. It smelled like it was on fire every time I stopped. You know, just like until then I got to 7-Eleven. You know,
mine had a exhaust coming through the vents. I didn't know that a hose was moved from the valve cover was moved and put right there. And I'm like, what the hell? We had to roll down the windows in the winter time when it actually did get cold here. Yeah. And I'm like, shit, no. So we had to figure that out.
Best car to ever skip school in was Mark's Mercury.
Yes. I had fun in that though. And that was before the reverse went though. But let's get back to him now.
Yeah.
One of my favorite videos. I love the videos of you guys doing the marriage app, but one of my favorite ones was actually the first one I watched was you showed her a picture of this guy, and you said, am I good looking like that, or is he good looking, or no, he's fine, and then you're sleeping, and then all of a sudden you hear the bzzz, or ding, and bzzz.
That was her alarm clock going off, sir.
That's right. It's like, why is she sleeping with her toothbrush? Yeah.
Yeah, I was laughing my ass off at that one. Yeah. But yeah, I was watching your YouTube channel yesterday all day. And
thank you.
I was like, oh shit. Yeah. I couldn't stop. It was one right after another. It was funny, and then I was like, how in the hell did they come up with some of these answers for that? But then I was thinking, if you're playing with your husband with these answers, then it's really fun to do. Yeah. My wife does that shit to me all the time, so I know.
Well, that's listen, and this is a funny thing, and truth be told, the Paired app is it's a monetized thing. Those are advertisements all the way, and it don't appear to be advertisements, and I think that's why they work. A lot of people that will comment on those videos, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, people will say, they'll point out like, oh, these are the funniest ads. Like this is, I got the subscription because of this ad, and when I was approached to do it originally, because it wasn't them, it was a third-party company that was working for them that approached me to do it. And I was like, okay, we'll come up with something, and we kind of looked at the ads, and it was just, it was like a lot of like sweet things, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, well, we can't do that. That's not our humor. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't fit. So what can we do to kind of make it fit? So we came up with like, obviously like the multiple, depending on, where you land, I think we have like 30 plus videos prepared. And we just wanted it to be where she kind of just obliterates me with every answer. And what's good about it, and this is the truth, is that app, it's obviously not designed to mess with your partner, although it definitely could be for that. Right. But it really has it legit. I mean, like totally, and I'm not getting paid to say this, the app has definitely brought us closer together because of the fun that we have with it. We're able to like actually, talk and make some like good memories with that app, because there's stuff I'll answer, like if I was at work or something like that, I'd answer it, and then she would answer something that I do. I would, sometimes we coach and like talk about, and then there's other times where she just answers, and it's great. There's some videos that are completely taking me up by surprise, and it's like we had to do it a couple times. We had to do some takes. I was just like, oh man, that was funny. That was really good. Yeah.
The look on your face. I mean, those are some of the, when you look at it, we're doing this app, and this is what I say, and this is what she says, and you move over, duck down, and you can't help but laugh, and and then you got the ones where, tell me how that your husband, I think this was one of them, how your husband is not cheating on you. She runs in there real quick and points. Or your partner, yeah, your partner, and your shirt's up here.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
you're picking. I was like, oh man, that would be my wife right there.
That one that's probably the highest viewed. Well, not anymore. I have an advertisement that was recently pushed. It was they call it sparking in TikTok, but I have an advertiser that sparked one of my videos for this texting app called Litstick. And that one right now has like 20 million views, but organically, like the one that you just talked about is my most viewed video. And I think it has like 12 million, 13 million, something like that views. And like so many people have like stitched it, and like you wouldn't believe, like if you actually go to the TikTok video, you'd be surprised like how many people are like really fighting in those comments. And I had to like kind of tone it down and do like a video response to like somebody's comment, and like kind of flip it the other way around, where I was, calling my wife fat, and she still got me at the end anyway. But but yeah, and I appreciate that. I really do. A lot of thought, sometimes there's no thought at all. It's just, it's a good dynamic that my wife and I have. I tell you that, nobody knows marriage better than I do. I've been married 3 times, and I've had 3 successful marriages. But
Third time's the charm.
I was just, look, you know what? Hey, it's military life. But I will say that there's I've never had a closer connection to anybody than I do with my wife. She's my absolute like best friend in the whole world, and we really have that dynamic. It's incredibly important when you do those videos to have that.
If she's standing next to you with a bat, blink once.
That's right. And I love my wife.
I was just thinking that in the app, you're gonna get your comeuppance. There's gonna be a point where you're gonna flip it, and you're just gonna be like, "Here we go, let's run this one."
We've been trying, like we were thinking, like, oh man, but if I do that, that's gonna be the end of it. You know what I mean? It has to be like, it's like
she still has to get him in the end. Yeah, she still has to be one up on him because otherwise it doesn't work. It's like the other day when we had Toby in here from Toby and Angel. Angel. When we had them in here, they kept taking their stuff down because they use fake stuff, and people were calling it as
abuse.
Her being abusive.
Spousal abuse. Yeah.
Abuse.
So I'm not sure if you've seen the video where he comes in the kitchen and he asks his wife, if somebody offered you $1 million to
and he hits her with
beat my ass, what would, and she just whips around with this cast iron skillet.
Oh, that's funny.
And then the wasted thing from
Mortal
Auto.
Kombat.
No, Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yeah, no, Mortal Kombat.
I think
Go
it's
watch
Grand
it again.
Theft Auto, but okay.
I think it's Mortal Kombat.
Is this the couple that does the? I know I don't know if it's this couple, but they did do something like for a while. A lot of their videos, like he walks away with the Gangster's Paradise song playing in the background. Is that the?
There's one, yes. There is one, yes.
I wonder if because because I'm not. I try my look. And here's the truth, and this is horrible for me to say. I try my best to stay off of TikTok because it's addicting. I mean, I'll go through.
Oh yeah.
You lose hours going.
Yeah, no, you really will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be an app for when you poop, and that's it. Once you're done, you wipe and you shut your phone off. Otherwise, you're done for the day.
Yeah.
But is the wife? Is she a blonde lady?
No,
redhead.
Okay, then no.
Red and black.
So, because I was going to say, because we had a very interesting podcast. There was a couple it's a really famous couple on TikTok, has much more followers than me. The video you just talked about with my shirts up or whatever. Because at the end of that video, I think she says, "I said like I'm cheating on you," and she said, "With who? Your diet?" They stole the entire thing, word for word, verbatim from me, and posted it. Got a bunch.
They don't like to do that part. No,
it's good, because
they would have
it's not the same couple for sure. But yeah, if it was them, I've been like, okay, bring them back on here. We're gonna talk.
Yeah, they like to do.
That's happened to me so many times, and honestly, I don't care if it's a smaller account. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, people.
Oh no, right. Nobody ever has any original content anymore. People are always trying to steal.
A lot of stuff that we do are just kind of in a sense because not necessarily the jokes themselves, but the types of jokes are just recycled like Married with Children stuff. You know what I mean? Like that kind of
right. Good. Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, but this generation doesn't know that. Now that's why they're watching TikTok, and now they're
that's
like,
why.
Oh,
that's why Toby. That's why Toby kept getting suspended a lot and had his account because. I mean, the metal pan is not metal. It is actually rubber, and you can squeeze it and all this. And they showed people, even made a video afterwards because they were suspended. They had to do something to show them. And so they showed people, and they still did not understand it. Come on. It's called comedy.
Yeah. It was slapstick comedy.
Slapstick comedy. And that's
if you don't understand, that, go watch the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Man, they would have a field day with them.
Or the Marx Brothers,
right? Exactly.
It's very much different. TikTok is especially sensitive. I've never gotten my account suspended, but I've had multiple videos removed for either sexually explicit content, and the most common one is abuse. It's always abuse or bullying. It's harassment and bullying is what it is. And I think eventually, like, they just stopped flagging my video. I haven't had a video flagged in a while. And I think it's because like I've been appealing so much and just letting them know like, hey, this isn't, this is just it's satire, it's comedy, you know. But yeah, and they can come close. I mean, you know, if enough strikes happen, then they'll get their account suspended or banned, Lord forbid. And it's the same thing for me, you know.
Yep.
My very first account got suspended or banned. Actually, I had to fight to get it back, and they still would not give it to me. And finally, they just gave up and gave it back to me for no reason. There was nothing explicit on it. Nothing. They just did it that way. I said, okay, fine, fuck you. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it doesn't have to be. TikTok is very much like that, and they don't give you, you know, they give you a very generic reason for it. But even now,
if you go to
appeal, you can't even write down why you're appealing. They used to have a comment section where you say, well, this is why, and blah blah blah. They got tired of reading that. So I think now what they do is, if I send in an appeal, they'll just reinstate my video. That I haven't in a long time submitted an appeal that didn't get the video reinstated. So I think it's just still an automated thing. They're just giving people a chance to appeal it, and if they appeal it, then it goes to another automated system that reinstates the video. So it's really stupid. The whole thing is just dumb.
I mean, I actually got to talk to somebody in an email. I guess it was somebody, because when I couldn't figure out how to get back into my account, they were like, "Oh, well, you got to do this, this, and that." And I was like, "Listen, I'm not doing none of that. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'll not go on TikTok." And they were like, "All right, have a nice day." I was like, "Oh, what? Wait a minute, I want to watch emails, but I want to watch videos. I mean, come on."
All you got to do is change your email or whatever. You know, it don't matter.
I'd like to be able to figure out how to get back into my original account that somebody got that now I can't figure out how to get back into.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I get multiple times a day, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, or not Facebook, but Instagram and TikTok. I'll get at least one message per day from somebody saying, you know, hey, I need a confirmation code from your phone number that ends in, you know, whatever the last 4 digits, because they can tell you what the last 4 digits of your phone number is. So what's that thing? And that's how they get your account, because they're able to sign in through that. You know, they sign in, they put in a fake password, and then, you know, and then I tell them the code, you know, and then they're able to get in the account. But I'm hip to the scam. So I usually, what I do is, because I also have Snapchat, and I don't know if you guys have used Snapchat lately, but I don't really use Snapchat. Like I just don't use it. I don't send anything out, but it's flooded. Like all of my friends are just like these fake scammer bots that will ask me for like my Cash App and, you know, and a bunch of weird scams and stuff like that. And then I just send them pictures.
I love those scams.
Like I literally send them pictures. I Google shit in toilet and send them pictures of that. I think it's mine.
I like my favorite.
The code. I'm like, yeah, here you go.
my favorite ones are the ones that sit there and tell you, they're women that come on. Oh, I'll show you your pictures for this, and this. Well, okay, fine. Send me a picture of what you look like. Okay.
Right.
Well, I have an app on my phone that tells me if you're using it as a scam or not. Yeah. So, it's funny, and I get them all the time on that. I'm like, okay. One sent me a picture of a porn star, and I'm like, you dummy, I know who that is.
Right. Well, that's it. Look, and nothing against you. That's the kind of people they're going for. They're going, you know, sad people like us three who know. You know, there are some girls that started today, and I know them.
Yep. Let me ask you this: Has any of your other accounts have they gotten hacked? Have you ever been hacked? As far as somebody said, "Hey, man, I saw the video that you needed money or anything like that," and you're like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
No, nope, I've never. Okay. As you know, because I'm a fan of like some of the YouTube, because I don't watch like TV much. I watch just mainly YouTube content. That's how I fall asleep. That's what I like to watch. And one of the things I like to watch is this guy on YouTube. His name is Kit Boga, and he calls scammers all the time. And
I love him.
Oh yes, I know who that is.
Kind of understood how scams work, and I was just like, okay, well that's good. It's good information to have. Obviously, it's funny content, but it's good to know. It's good to know kind of how scams work. So I never fell for any of it. Never. I was fortunate enough to have the knowledge of how that crap works. Honestly, and now I look at it and it's like, how does anybody fall for it even now? Like it's crazy. Like you know, there's no way this hot chick is reaching out to me. You know. Like,
to me or Mark.
A few years ago, I had my Instagram account, taken, and they were sending out messages to people telling them that I left my wife, and I met a girl, and I left my wife, and they were using. You see, when you message people that I've been friends with, and like on Xbox, I have a certain tagger name that people knew me by, and I would go, and they were talking to them without using that name. They knew something was wrong. So I had a friend call me up from Washington, tell me, hey, look, I know that you like the women and all, but did you have to ask me like for, this amount of money? I said, did you send it? He said, no. I said, good. I didn't ask for it.
Right.
And I was laughing my ass off when they were telling me this shit. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
It's crazy.
But I leave my wife of almost 25 years. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Andy, I think it would be really, I think it may behoove you and maybe your wife to make a video about getting hacked or something like that. Maybe put that out there for people and say, hey, listen, if you're getting this account, and it says da 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 or something, I don't know, something. I mean, you have a way to do something like that. That I don't have that ability because I'm not on the talks like that.
Right. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I put my Cash App out there once.
I want somebody to put money in it. They never do.
No, people did. I did a video where I put because I had my wife make me a Cash App, and I said my wife made me a Cash App, and I put that on the screen, and it says Small Peenie. That was the name of the Cash App, and I was like, fuck, But yeah, you'd be surprised how many people actually sent money to it. And I declined them all.
Oh wow!
Like yeah, no, and I'll tell you that this is something that I will say, and I kind of pride myself on, at least so far, right? And there's so let me start off by saying this. Along with all the YouTube content I love to watch lolcows of the internet. I'm a big fan of it. I love people that are just horrible human beings and are failing miserably on the internet. These live streamers that are begging for money and stuff, and it sends it makes my heart warm because they're horrible people. But I always said, like, when I started like getting a little bit of a following and started making a little bit of money, I said, when the time is up, the time's up. And I'll go back to a regular job and disappear into the shadows like everybody else and be fine. But I will never accept money for a donation. Right? I have a Cameo. Right? I'm giving you a service, but I'll never accept a money and like just to send me money. I won't. I'll put it out there as a joke. But if you send me money, I send it right back. And don't even mention it in the comments. Like somebody had said, like I donated, like in a comment, right? And then I friended them. I gave him a follow back, and then I shot him an email. Say, hey, just let you know I'm sending you back the money. Just because I don't like to do that. I just don't. I'm happy with what we do, and I make enough money outside of even TikTok to I don't feel I'm going to be like a superstar when I'm going to pay all of my bills with this. It's nice to have some extra to give something to my family, but after that, once it's gone, and I'll continue to do it because it's fun to do.
Yeah. How long have you been married to your third wife now?
Oh, she's gonna hate this. I don't know.
Oh shit.
She was talking to me yesterday about like not listening to her or something. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, but she said. No, that was off of what's that movie? Dumb and Dumber. No, I had I got married in October of 2019, I think it was.
Okay.
So we've been married for about 3.5 years. We've been in a relationship since September of 2013. So we're coming up on 10 years of being together. We waited a long time, very purposely, because I screwed up so many times before. So did she send you a John Deere letter? Yes.
I guess you learned from your mistakes, right?
I have now after 2 of them. Yeah, I did. I learned. Well, look, and here's the thing is, and I'll I can talk shit about my exes all the time, right? There's always two sides.
That's the name of the show. So I mean,
that's true. There you go. That's look, here's the truth. I was not an easy person to be with many years ago. I wasn't, and it wasn't until I started. From my experiences with, in the Navy and Brian, you were there on the where were you? You were on with the Higgins, right?
No, I was on Benfold.
The Benfold. Yeah. Okay. So on the Higgins, so that was after we did the swap. So the Higgins is when, and I don't know if you went, Brian, to did anything with the Iraqi freedom. But I was over there in Iraqi freedom, and I remember like sitting in my bunk in my rack, and they woke us up at like 4:00 in the morning. This is like the night everything started. The very night the early morning everything started. And the CO woke us up on the 1MC and said, hey, in 30 minutes, we're going to launch over Tomahawk missiles. And, if Saddam doesn't release his weapons of mass destruction, some bullshit, I was just like, and I remember like laying, I was like 19, 20 years old. It's like, I'm a fucking kid, and I remember thinking like, and me, I was a fucking cook, bro. I was nobody special. But I remember like thinking in my rack, I'm like, man, dude, it's like women and kids are about to die. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? And like, it wasn't until I got out that I was kind of able to really start to think about those things, and thinking about those things fucked my whole world up. Just fucked me up. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. And you don't want to talk about like, I don't want to get too dark here, but you want to talk about like suicidal and it was nuts for me. It was really, really hard. And I think, in a way like TikTok and wrestling and stuff like that kind of helped, kind of ease my mind a little bit. But when I was, when I was kind of coming back from all that, that's when I was just like, it was hard to deal with. It really was. I was difficult to deal with. I'm not like as, definitely not as lighthearted and happy as I am now. It was always, something was always wrong. I never got sleep, and I was always pissed off at the world and blah, 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 blah. So, I felt that I not to say that the exes didn't do anything wrong. They were fucking awful too, but but I definitely had my part in it. So I once I made the attempt to really better myself for the sake of whoever I was with is when we did it right. Is when I finally got it right. And that's why we waited so long. I'm just like, let's just, I want to make sure that we're both comfortable and blah, blah, blah. And women are just, I think in general are just like, well, does he really love me? He's not asking me out. He's not asking me to marry him and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And, we got engaged, and even the engagement lasted like 3 years before we got married. And then we finally got married. But I definitely wanted to wait because I felt that I needed to make sure that I was going to be able to be a good husband. I hope she understands that now.
I mean, I've been married to my wife, Stacy, and I don't know if you remember her or not.
Yeah,
she says hello.
Well, hello.
She wanted me to tell you hello. She's probably watching
that. She did not say that. She said, "Tell him to go fuck off."
No, that sounds like Stacey. All right, there you go.
But 25 years going on 26, right? In
October, isn't it?
Yeah, and through thick and thin. I mean, she's been with me. I mean, I was an alcoholic. I was gone all the time. God knows what he's doing. Well, God knows what she's doing, and
right.
It's vice versa. So, but you come to terms with that, and a lot of people don't understand that because a lot of people not in the military don't understand what we went through as far as being gone, trying to make a call on what we used to call it's called a POTS phone. And when the ship makes a turn and you're having this great conversation that you finally got her to shut up for 5 seconds so you get a speech out real quick, right? The minute the ship turns, you lose all signal, right?
Yeah.
So this $25 calling card that you had for what, 5-10 minutes of talking?
Yeah, back then they took it really quick.
You got nothing out really. You didn't get a chance to say, "Hey, I just wanted to call and tell you I love you." It was, "Hey, how are the kids? And did you pay this bill?" And yada yada yada.
You mean to tell me that the Navy was that cheap? They didn't have a free phone for you guys. You had to use calling cards.
Oh no, you pay. Absolutely,
you're paying. My God.
Yeah, there's no such thing as free. You got to. It's all about who you know though, because they did have sat phones. But
yeah, I'll tell you, I was fortunate because I worked. I worked in supply. So the supply.
Yeah, you guys had all the goodies. Like, you guys had all the goodies.
Like, and that's how I got my ESWAS, bro. I'd love to say like I studied really hard and stuff, but now for the most part, I was like, hey, bro, I got some extra cookies for mid-rats if you want to come by,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was able to use the phone like probably more often than other people. I still wasn't enough,
Right.
But yeah, no, I get that. I do. I get that. It's weird because you have to, when you talk about like sacrifices for like the military, or thank you for your sacrifice, obviously for civilians, you're thinking like, well, thanks for going to war and stuff like that. And people don't really kind of understand like really what the sacrifice is. Like I could give a shit about like being in danger. I could give a fuck, I mean, I could go out there and do, it's a job, to me, it's a job, whatever the case is, we're in wartime. It is what it is. It sucks, but it is what it is. But really the sacrifice comes from literally putting your entire personal life in danger. You don't know exactly. It's that you don't know what she's doing, and she doesn't know what you're doing, and God forbid,
your life's on hold.
You don't come home when I came home and the mortgage hadn't been paid in 3 months, and I lost my house because of it. But yeah, those are the sacrifices. It is about that, and for you and for your wife to stay with you for all that, all that time and all that bullshit, because it's a lot. It's a lot to do.
Oh, she was super strong for that, because I mean, any other. I mean, I looked at shit, man. I don't know how long you did. I did 12 years active duty with the Navy. I would have stayed. Unfortunately, things didn't progress the way I wanted them to. But in those 12 years that I was in the Navy, I was married to her for 11 point something. You know what I mean? And for her to stay with me that entire time, God bless her, because I watched so many marriages fall apart. Chiefs and first classes, and this person's doing this person and that person. Oh, this one turned gay, and oh my God, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
You want to watch a soap opera, dude? It's called the United States Navy. Find a ship.
Yeah. I've seen quite a bit of it too, and I didn't stay because of shit like that. I was just like, I want to go home for Christmas, and I want to be home for birthdays, and I don't want to wonder for 6 months, like why she didn't pick up the phone and back in Hong Kong, it just kind of screws you up over time. And good for you. You stayed in for that long. I lasted 9 years, and I was up for my, I think my second reenlistment, and I said no. And that was it. You get to 10, you might as well stay to 20. That's typically the way it works.
Well, that was the goal, and we won't go into it on this show, but there were circumstances and a new captain that came to, I think it was the Benfold. Was it the Benfold? I don't know. It was a captain that came to a boat that I went to, and told me that I was going to stay and run that ER09 work center, and I said, absolutely not. I'm not. I'm going to re-enlist and be a recruiter down in Miami, Florida. No, you're not. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. That was it. That was we're done. We're done here.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
But let's move on to some lighter topics here. Let's get off of the military stuff.
The one question I have, and it's not military related. That marriage app, how did that come about?
Paired.
Yeah. I was working with a company. It was it's a creator based company called The Plug. And The Plug, the way it works is they have all these different companies that they pay Plug to reach out to popular creators and have them promote their stuff. So I was on The Plug, and I tried to do like an app. I tried to promote another app, and it didn't go well. Then I did another app, and it didn't go well. I got like a couple downloads. I got like a few bucks, and it wasn't going well. And then somebody reached out to me and said, hey, we got this new thing called Paired, if you want to try it. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then within the first day, the video got like 2 million views organically, just 2 million views. And they loved it so much they said, we want you to continue being like the Paired guy. So I just pumped out video after video, and I have probably amassed, like if I were to guess, probably over the span of all my Paired videos, probably like 30 million views or so on those advertisements. It's crazy. It's nuts. The Plug, like, just recently made a lot of changes to their app, and Paired wasn't included in those changes. So I reached out to Paired people directly, and I said, hey, listen, I want to continue doing these videos. I'm going to do it. I was going to do it regardless whether or not they were going to pay me for it, because I like doing the videos. They're good content and they spark a lot of interest and get me a good amount of engagement. So I reached out to them and said, hey, can I continue doing that? And then they, sure, go ahead and do that. And then the very first video I did over the course of like maybe a week got like 4 million views. The very first video I did with them, just directly.
Good for you.
4 million views. And then I have a video. The last video I did just recently, like less than a week ago, it's right now to like 300,000 views. So like not every video is like viral, but it all goes into a library, like a playlist, and then people can watch all the paired videos on that. And for nothing else, it's just entertainment. To me, those are my favorite videos that I do. I try to like do them like once a week. But sometimes I'll get caught up and I'll do like 3 or 4 in a week, and just because I love to do them so much, But that's how that's how it came about. And, like right now, it's still like they're still like doing well with their advertisements. They're happy. We have a very good relationship together. So hopefully for multiple years to come.
That's good. Hopefully the app continues to do well. I tried to download the app and then it asked me for money and I said I'm out.
Sorry. And I'll tell you, I this is like the number one complaint that I get from people is like when they'll comment and like, oh well, it's so much money a year. This is the way I look, because I got the premium. I got the premium version, but you don't need the premium version to make the app work, right? The app will ask you a question every day. If you want access to all the questions at once, then you pay the premium price. But for me, for like a normal couple, just one question a day is totally fine. It works out just as well. So you can still use it for free, technically, But I, just to make the content I have to have the premium version, just because I need access to like the types of questions I want to answer. Sometimes I'll scroll through for like 30, 40 minutes before I find one that I feel I can click with and like, okay, this is the one, But yeah, I think even for the money, I can't remember how much it is. It's like $50-$60 a year or something like that. You break it all down, it's not too incredible for companies or for a couple that got it like that.
Yeah.
You think about how much money we're wasting every day on like fast food and shit. And I was like,
all the time.
You know what I mean? Like, guarantee you're spending at least $70 a month on fast food. Not you necessarily, but
it's probably more than that.
It's probably more than that.
That's true. And people don't, it's about it's about what, not you, not necessarily, I'm not attacking you, but it's what you value, right? It's you place your priorities. You know what I mean? If you want to, if that's where you find your pleasures and your happiness, then by all means, that's where you put your money. There are people that subscribe to like, premium porn sites, for Christ's sakes. And I don't get why, or OnlyFans. I don't get that. I have an OnlyFans, by the way. I wouldn't get why. I do. I really do.
Shout out to your OnlyFans page.
Yeah. Shout out. Yeah. Plug, Andrew Jassick.
You don't have to find her. What the hell?
I'll tell you a funny story about the OnlyFans thing.
Okay.
But it really is about like what kind of makes you happy. And I think for a couple that kind of wants to make their relationship stronger, just keep like the spark alive and stuff like that. I think the money for the app for the whole year, like $50, $60, $70, whatever it is totally worth the price, in my opinion.
Where do you think those questions come up? I mean, how do you think those questions came about? I mean,
they
get with married people and say, hey,
no, they're made. All of these questions are they're, what's a good way to say it? They're all done by accredited like marriage counselors and psychologists and stuff. Like they're written by like doctors and professionals in the area. So that's how this company, and there's not just like questions, there's like quizzes and there's games and all this other stuff that you can do, but it's all made by professionals that feel like these questions are going to, inevitably help communication in the relationship, which is incredibly important. I'm a communications person. I'm getting my master's degree right now for communication. I love. Good
for you.
Yeah, thank you. I love the idea of communication. So I strongly support that app like thick and thin. Even if I never do a video for it again, it's a fantastic app. I love it. But onto my OnlyFans, I did make it. I made an OnlyFans for the sake of a video that got taken down anyway by TikTok, because you can't even say OnlyFans on TikTok. You'll get the video taken down or muted. But I made it. It's at Andrew Jassick, and I haven't updated. I literally made the page. I put like 2 pictures on there, and then I never updated it again. But it's just pictures of fans, just like
just OnlyFans.
It's OnlyFans.
Yeah, OnlyFans. Yeah, so perfect. That's great.
That's great. It. Yeah.
So let's talk about. Let's talk about the shirt let's talk about these shirts that your wife bought you. I see that you're wearing the
into fitness,
taco and
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
I'll be back in just a second. I gotta use the bathroom.
Okay.
So funny story about that. This is and not now. I mean, the shirts are mine. The deal is done. But this is a promotion too. This is I was shopping for a long time with this company called $6 shirts, and I've for years I've loved their shirts. Just they're not like the most quality driven shirts, but they have some funny sayings on them, and they're great. So I reached out to them one day, like on Instagram or whatever, and said, hey, I got a decent following on TikTok. You think I'll do a video for you if you want to send me a couple shirts, because I just wanted to give them a shout out. So this is one of the shirts that they sent me, but they asked me like, which ones do you want?
Oh,
so
wow.
I said,
Okay.
I want this one. I want the Kool-Aid one. I want a trophy husband one.
What's the Kool-Aid one? I don't remember seeing that one.
The trophy husband, yeah, it's funny. And it's just a picture of a trophy. It says trophy husband on it. I'll walk out and I'll get like laughs and stuff with it. The shirts always get like a little bit of attention, from like crowds and stuff. They're funny. They're little niches. That was like one of the 2 times I ever did that. I did that with this, and then I did it with this other company called Shinesty, which makes underwear. They're boxer briefs, but they have a pouch for your nuts. It's a ball hammock. But I don't know if you ever tried this, and you don't necessarily. This is not a plug for Shinesty, but because I did a video and that also got removed because I was dancing in my underwear. And I'm sure if I was a good-looking guy, it probably wouldn't have got removed. But here's this fat fucking, Anyway, but they sent me a bunch of underwear, and this didn't help matters because I didn't realize what the underwear had printed on it. I just liked the idea of having this ball hammock, But if you never had underwear like that, I'm telling you, it's the best underwear I ever got. I love. I'm in love with this underwear. It's like my favorite.
Separates the boys from the.
It does. It separates the boys from the man. Yeah.
Okay.
It's and literally they keep everything kind of cooler. Like you don't sweat as much. It's great. And I guess there's like some health benefits to it too. I don't care about all that. I'm just happy about the way my nuts feel when I walk, especially me being so fat. But the prints that they have on them, they're always like sexual in nature. So they sent me like a bunch of pictures of like aliens fucking and polar bears fucking and clouds.
So this is Shinesty.com.
Shinesty. Yeah, this is the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
check it out. I'm telling you, to all your listeners, check out Shinesty. Like they're, and plus I feel really bad that my video got taken down. They were never able to use, their investment. But like since then, I bought more, on my own dime. I bought more stuff from Shinesty. So they're great.
About
and like every season,
what about on
Insta?
On Instagram, you could probably get away with a little bit more because.
No, I want to say it got taken down on Instagram too.
Oh, that's terrible.
Instagram is a Facebook affiliate, so I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing is you can definitely get away with more on Instagram, but it's definitely not free and clear. I had multiple pictures of my my wife's personal back massager, if you want to call it that, but it's not shaped like anything. It's one of those big fucking things, with the fucking ball on top. That what I mean, like. And it literally could be. I remember, like, not to get too gross. I remember going to my mom's fucking closet one day and finding that, and I was just like, "Oh, what is that?" She's like, "Oh, it's a back massager." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I need that." I was just, I mean, like, this is great.
It goes all the way down to my butt crack.
And then you didn't realize until you became a teenager and an adult,
right?
What it actually was.
Gross. I just put my mom's coos all over me. What the hell?
It's not the first time. Listen, there was a time at birth that.
But to me, it could be a massager, right? So like, why they take that down? But we did it like, and any videos that had that in it got taken down, except for one where I was like, we reversed the video where I threw it on the floor, but we reversed it, so I came back to my hands and we did it to the Avengers Assemble one. That's like the only one that still exists, and for some reason they never took that out. But
that's shocking.
Yeah, they'll always ban videos like that. It's crazy.
Well, Mark wants to talk to you about something that is very near and dear to your heart, and very near and dear to Mark's heart too. I think. What?
It's always been near and dear to my heart. But there's actually one thing I want to I want to hear his reaction on. All right. Let's see if it.
away is good at what we do.
You guys are absolutely great at what you do. You are, and we talked about this last night. And if you didn't get a chance to watch, man, Trevor agrees wholeheartedly.
He put you over big time.
You are the promo master. If there was anybody to learn how to cut a promo, it is through you, Andy.
I you know, like I appreciate that. It's funny because I look and not I don't like blowing smoke up my own ass. I've been like I've done multiple. I've done much. I've been so many different places. At least in the local area with wrestling, it's not even funny. And promoters, typically will say like, "Wow, you cut a really good promo, and you're really good at talking." And this is another thing about communication that I like. And this is why, like, now that it kind of transcended my passion into competing into speech and debate. So in college, I did like speech and debate, and I won every single tournament I was ever at. I won, first place or third or something like that. I did a lot of speech and debate, and I had this passion to like really teach people like how to talk, how to express yourself, and how to connect to people, right? So like just recently, like maybe like a week ago, I went to SoCal Pro and did a promo class with everybody, and nobody knew what it was because everybody's terrified of doing promos these days. Everybody is. You have great wrestlers, but you don't have good promos. And if you're wrestling fans, right? And I assume we're wrestling fans. We're all wrestling fans here. Oh, yeah. It's today's wrestling. You have great wrestling, but you don't have a lot of people that can really talk. That's why you have people like Paul Heyman and stuff like that in the mix that can like really talk.
We'll get into that part in a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I will tell you that in order to, and this is a good lesson to anybody aspiring to be a wrestler, if you ever want to be a wrestler, especially a bad guy wrestler, you have to legitimately believe in what you're saying, and you have to identify with the character, not so much you're playing a part. I will say over and over again, when me and Trevor would go out to the curtain, I legitimately hated everybody in that building. When I go and pick on kids and I pick on, families or even the opponents.
I remember.
Yeah. So, and what I mean? Like I'm kind of intense. But in order to like really get that through, if you want to cut a good promo, you can't just go in like the typical, using the same fucking lines over and over. Like I'm going to, at the end of the night and when all's said and done, the lights are off and, nobody's home.
The smoke clears. I will be.
Smoke clears, dust settles, there's no water left in the pool. Lights are on, but no, close, but no cigar, fed the fever, starved the cold, stay in the sheets, ghost ride the whip. You're in there like a champ, like an animal, like a beast, like a freight train, all this shit. And you go in there and you do that generic shit. It's just generic shit. And then you're not believable, right? Nobody connects with you. You're just another wrestler, right? If you go in there and you call some very small girl a bitch, right, and really emphasize bitch, right, then you got somebody's attention. Now we're starting to connect because you're not supposed to do that. Even as a bad guy, you're not supposed to use that. I want to mud wrestle. I want you to mud wrestle too. You come on in.
I was about to say that. I wanted you to, to stop for a minute. And yes, Melissa, yes, everybody wants to see that.
I would very much appreciate it. Yes. I don't know who Melissa is, but, God bless you.
We went to school with her.
Did you? Okay. Yeah, come on in, Melissa. I got you. As long as I can take pictures.
No, yeah, I'll take different pictures. I mean,
stop it. Mark, you're going to get us canceled. We've been on the air for like a
week. No, but look, and when Trevor and I were working, he was always the workhorse. He was the guy doing all the moves because I was never really good at I'll say over and over again, I was never a good wrestler. I was an excellent worker because I can really work with the crowd. I can piss people off. I was good at that. You know what I mean? And I'd make them happy when I lost.
Yeah, he said that you were no matter what, you could never cut a bad promo. He said. He said that you were one of the best ones in there. No matter you could pick anybody out in that, nobody would want to do a promo. You jump at that, do that promo faster than shit.
Loved it.
And
I loved
that. So when it came to that, I was like, okay, well, you have wrestlers nowadays that can't do promos very good.
Yeah.
Or you have wrestlers that, they're good wrestlers but can't promo, but then you got some that can actually do both. Now, who's the most over when it comes to promos?
Ryan Stone's was Chris Jericho.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say Chris Jericho. If not that he was honestly, and you're gonna hate this answer, but if you really want to pull somebody out who's like an amazing promo and he's never really gotten a chance to really do it, my number one would be Jeff Jarrett.
He can cut him. Yes, I'll admit that. Yes, he's really good.
Better. If he didn't have a filter on, he'd be able to cut. I mean, and I've seen him doing like live shows where he was just insanely good.
Well, if you come, that's like I was talking last night. I was like, well, MJF is one of the best talkers.
Yeah,
now,
but he can't wrestle for shit.
Right. Well, you put him in. Let's say take him from AEW and put him in WWE. His hands are going to be cuffed.
Yes.
To where he won't be able to do as much. Now, in WWE, the best talker right now, I believe, the best talker that's been around for a while is The Miz. Yes. The Miz can wrestle. I mean, granted, from the shit that he had to go through and all, but it's like, and then another one I pulled out my ass, just to see what he'd say, and that was James Storm. He could talk, he can wrestle. Now, yes, MJF can't wrestle. He talked his way into that title. That's what I will always say. But I just don't always agree with that. I mean, he's one of the best heels in the business right now.
Absolutely.
Right. And so then you now you say that, right? So he's one of the best heels in the business, and he can't necessarily work as well. I don't think he's a bad worker. I don't think he's a bad wrestler.
No, he just doesn't wrestle as much. He don't wrestle as much.
I would agree with that, right? He's not a workhorse, but he doesn't have to be. And this is why wrestling has become very different, is that the wrestling is great. You have people like AJ Styles, and you have people on, like your CM Punks, and then, you have
Roman Reigns,
Black,
Sami Zayn.
So you have all these people that are just, like really, really good in the ring, right? And obviously they're over in their own right? But who's The Rock, right? Who's Stone Cold, right? Or even Hulk Hogan. Like, who's Hulk Hogan? So the closest we have right now is probably Cody Rhodes, right? Like, at least for the time being, right? Cody Rhodes. Before that was John Cena. Was John Cena a Rock or a Stone Cold? I would say no, right? Was he good? He can cut a promo, right? Oh, yeah. But was he as good as that, right? And I think that's what happened with wrestling is that we took the importance, we took so much to heart, like it hurt our feelings for some reason when we said, oh, well, people don't want characters anymore. So we said, okay, then we're not going to make, the plumbers and the voodoo masters, and we're not going to make the repo men, right? Everybody's going to be their own organic person, and that's how they're going to get over. That's what started in WCW and transcended in WWF and then WWE, and then everybody else just kind of followed their lead, especially now in AEW. That's what you see. You see these real life people that are super over on the indie scene, and that's how they get over with their wrestling. AEW is still the second product, right? Why? Because people don't give a shit about wrestling. The wrestling is not what's important. And people will say, like, I'm a wrestling fan. You don't understand what you're watching. You don't get it. What you get, what you're watching is the story that's developing. This thing between Roman Reigns, first of all, I fucking hate Roman Reigns. I always have.
Same.
And why? We don't hate Roman Reigns. We just like we didn't hate John Cena. We don't legitimately hate them. We hate the idea that WWE is pushing somebody down our throat for years that we said we don't want. That's all it is. He's a great mid-card guy, or fucking maybe second.
Oh, I loved it when Roman Reigns came back and he was a bad guy. I loved it when he came back.
Right, but that was a little.
And that's
that was too late, right? And yes, he is definitely an incredibly over heel. Right, but if it wasn't for Paul Heyman, would he be as over as he is now?
Not a chance.
I don't think with the bloodline story, I don't think he would be over neither.
So exactly. So he needs assistance. He needs help. Right. Yeah. The Rock didn't need help. Stone Cold didn't need help. Hulk Hogan didn't need help. Even the Ultimate Warrior and his fucking buggery didn't need help.
Savage didn't need help.
So
if you had a name for yourself, you didn't need the help. You had the mic, you had the ability to wrestle back in the 80s, early 90s.
You could tell a story, you know, like look at how over Paul Heyman is, and doesn't even wrestle. He hasn't taken one fucking bump. Like, well, you know,
he did the other day,
right? He doesn't fucking bump. Doesn't have to fucking work, and he's just as over, if not more, than Roman Reigns is, right? For being his mouthpiece.
But he's
so what are you watching? I mean, you're not watching wrestling. You're not.
No, you're watching the stories.
You're watching the fucking stories. And the only reason that Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns is such a big fucking thing is because it means more than the title for Cody Rhodes. It means doing something for his father. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And now we have a chance. There's a possibility that Roman Reigns could stifle that because now Paul Heyman got into Cody's head about how good Roman Reigns is and how his father looked down on him more favorably or whatever the case is, right?
Now,
but that's
how when you become the champion, you're going to be on the road 360 days out of 365.
Now, here you go. Here's a question that I asked Trevor last night. I was like, do you believe that title should be split? Or should they just make one complete title?
Look, first of all, the titles don't mean anything anymore. They just don't.
No, not like. I mean, I don't like the fact that WWE, you know, made the Universal title. In some ways, when they put it on Brock Lesnar, made it more over than their actual original title. I hated that.
So
I really did.
Why did that title become more over on with Brock Lesnar?
Because you put Brock Lesnar with that title.
So you put Brock Lesnar on there. How often did Brock Lesnar defend the belt?
What every
once a year?
Every 3 months or so.
So what have we done? Right? We have saturated the market, not just with WWE and AEW and TNA and ROH and everything else, but all your small time indie stuff. You go down to like Southern California, you know, from here to LA, there's probably about 12 or 13 different promotions. Right? LA has become so fucking mainstream that we are shoving it down people's throats. There is not any given day out of the week that you can't catch wrestling live on TV somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah, my wife hates it because I watch it just about every day.
So, but what I'm saying is that we went from doing 4 pay-per-views a year when WWF was doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had their special on Mondays and they had their Saturday morning bullshit.
And then WCW came along.
That's when wrestling was the most over it had ever been. Right. And then they started introducing the SmackDowns. Right. And then they started introducing Sunday Night Heat and all this other stuff. Right. So we started giving you more wrestling. Okay. Well, we have more wrestling. So now what? Now we got to get more titles into the picture. And all of a sudden now all of my tension has to be split between all of these things. Right. And the last thing I give a shit about, honestly, truth be told, is a fucking title belt anywhere, especially when you're issuing a title belt to 2 different brands within the same company. What are we doing? I don't get it. I don't like the brand. I don't like the. I did not like the preposterous idea.
Yeah, I did not like the brand switch. You know, sometimes I like the draft just to see where everybody went. Yeah. But you know, putting 2 titles, yes, I agree. You have way too many titles for one.
You do.
And you know, I don't like the way that the tag titles. I hated it when they went to the bronze color. I hated those ones.
Like big pennies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish that they'd bring back the old one. And then, you know, I if you're going to have the titles, if you're going to have 2 titles, then why don't you just split them so you can have 2 champions? I mean, instead you're putting a title like what was it? Which title aren't they using that much anymore? The Intercontinental title they weren't using as much for a while there. The United States title they just started using again. But the world title is still only being, you know, Roman Reigns shows up to TV maybe once every 3 weeks, and then fight, and maybe if you're lucky, every 2 months he defends that title.
Right.
You're supposed to, and if I'm not, I am not wrong on this. You're supposed to defend that title within 30 days of a defense.
Sure.
Each time, and that's always been the rule. Now, when they put the title on Brock Lesnar, it went from every 30 days to every 3 months to maybe and he only showed up to TV 2 days before.
Listen, the mind sand, he signed the contract that he wanted to sign though.
I'm not saying that. Brock Lesnar was a attraction on his own. He didn't need that title.
Right.
You know, you have certain ones that have that. Okay, put the title on them, but you have some like like Brock Lesnar, Hogan. Hogan doesn't need a title. He's an attraction on his own, just not in that porno.
Mark's over here watching Hulk Hogan's porno.
No, I never watched it. I just heard all about it.
I watched it. I don't care. Screw y'all for judging me. I watched the whole goddamn thing.
No, I've never got to watch that one.
That's Hogan's ass.
Yeah. I've heard, I heard the audio from it. I just never watched it. It's just, just certain ones are, the draws of themselves. John Cena doesn't need to come back and win the United States title. He needs to come back and put over, what the hell's his name?
Austin Theory.
Yeah, Austin Theory. And
how did you not?
I don't know. I was talking so fast I forgot his name. He needs to put him over. Who is?
Well, look, I will say that if see the reason you always have like your big attractions wearing the belts and all that is because you're not doing it to emphasize the person wearing it. You're doing it to emphasize the belt, right? So that's why you would have a Brock Lesnar have that belt. That's why you'd have a Roman Reigns wear that belt. You have people that you want to have represent the company, be that champion. That's why Hulk Hogan, aside from all of his, his inner politicking, right, was always the face of the company because he was always the champion, and vice versa.
But he always grew with the audience, no matter what. Let
me ask you this: when at what point did Hogan have a match that wasn't for a title, whether he was a champion or not? Because it doesn't matter if you're currently wearing the title into the match, right? But think about anything, right, that has a good memory of it, right, that didn't involve a title that you finally remember Hulk Hogan for. And I will say the gimmick with Undertaker when he said he stung him on his head at what is it, this Tuesday in Texas?
Tuesday in Texas, yes.
But we remember that for different reasons, right? So that's not that, right? So what else?
Well, the only time that I ever remember Sting not fighting for a title would be in Impact Wrestling when he faced Sting. That's not Hulk Hogan anymore. We're talking about real Hulk Hogan. You don't know. I don't remember a time that he was fighting without a title.
And that's why, because Hulk Hogan on his own wasn't enough. So
he needed that title.
Right. He needs that title picture. He needs to be fighting, and always like the matches you always remember is when he's going for the title, not when he's defending it, because that's the story we play in wrestling. That's why you always have look, I'll bet my bottom dollar on it. Cody Rhodes is going to win at Mania, right? We know Cody Rhodes is going to win at Mania, not because we're smart marks and we know he's going to win at Mania. This is the story that has been played out in wrestling for 30 plus years. It is the never-ending chase from the good guy that finally gets his big moment on the grandest stage of them all.
So
don't bring him back.
Okay, hold on. Right, but okay, if we're going to go that route, so what is it going to be? Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos then? Because they're still talking about Roman Reigns doing two matches, one night, one the next, one with Sami, one with Cody.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know, because that would be looking at, and that honestly, that's a second thought. Because you think about if you were in WWE, knowing the people that run WWE, do you want Sami Zayn as a champion?
I would.
I know you would. I know you would.
He's good. Well, no, he's not a face. Like Trevor said yesterday, he's a B+ player.
Yes. Yes.
It's not the look that they want to have.
He is not. He's not a WWE guy.
But Cody is.
Well, no, Cody's not either. And I will tell you this, that along with my other, because look, and I'll be honest with you, I hate wrestling. I hate wrestling. I love wrestling. I hate what wrestling has become, right? So I don't watch the product anymore. So even not watching the product anymore, I'll tell you this with 100% certainty. Cody's going to lose the belt within 3 pay-per-views. 100%. He'll lose the belt within 3 pay-per-views because a story is not good with Cody as the champion. The story is
it's
only good when
with
Cody is chasing the championship.
right. And when he catches them, it's good for a certain amount of time, and then he has to lose it. And normally, it's back to the champion, the former champion.
Always. And
Always.
it's this recycled thing. Just like we were talking about earlier with like all our jokes kind of being recycled from like Married Children and all this. It's the same exact thing. Entertainment.
Except different players. Right.
Yeah.
And I can't think of, with AEW, AEW, to me, they don't really have any good stories going. I mean,
Okay,
quite honestly, it's always the same thing every time with MJF. Anytime somebody wants a match, they have to go through hoops to get to him.
And you're gonna fight. You're gonna fight 10 people before you get to him.
Well,
right,
okay,
and sometimes that does get boring to watch, unless they can come up creative, or if they can get creative on it.
Because if you're, and I'll be honest with you, if you're a fan of WWE, on a regular fan of WWE, and I'd assume you are, right?
I'm a fan of all wrestling.
Okay, well that's great. It's not typical to be like a hardcore fan of WWE and a hardcore fan of AEW. It's just it's not, right? Because it's two different.
I grew up. I went to WrestleMania 3. That was my very first event, and that was one of I grew up on that, and then my cousins introduced me to NWA, and WCW, and and then I started watching WCCW. And yeah, I've watched all different types, New Japan, ROH, and I caught I caught SoCal on online, and I was watching that today, and then I was like, okay, well, I asked Brian, I said, what size ring do you guys have? Because it's a lot smaller, and so I was going to ask you that. And the one thing that I didn't understand, and maybe you might be able to help me with, in other organizations and stuff, the ropes are tighter. Why aren't the ropes as tight? Because the guy almost fell off of them, trying to get up, and he almost fell off of them.
It depends. So the rope. So first of all, there's different types of ropes, right? If you watch WWE, they use actual real nylon rope. That's the type of rope they use, right? That's old school wrestling, and it's so funky. And I think Jim Cornette even mentioned it once, is that they'll change everything in the fucking world. They'll change their sets, they'll change the way they produce things and all that. They'll always go back to those ropes because that's they've always done them that way, right? So if you watch like indie wrestling, depending on what indie wrestling you watch, but most indie wrestling will have the new form cables. That's what AEW uses. They use cable. I think they use cables. It's the aircraft cables with nothing more than like garden hose and tape on top of them.
I remember those days.
Yeah. That's what it is. Now, it wasn't done very well at Saw, but it's the same premise, right? Anyway, so ropes typically, right, to tighten them, right, as much as WWE does, right, or even AEW does, because they're moving shows. They do do house shows, and they do their regular shows. They're probably using that ring 3, 4, 5 times a week. It puts a lot of wear and tear on ropes, a lot of wear and tear, especially on nylon. So if you do it like with real ropes, I mean, you'll stretch those things out within like a couple months. You'll have to get new ones. And ropes, whether you're using the cables or using the nylon ropes, are very, very expensive. So I would say that's probably the main reason why you don't see them quite as tight as they do in like WWE and AEW. That and plus, it's not like unlike those things, a lot of indie shows don't have all those moves where people are like jumping on top of the top rope and going to the outside. And they need that like really strong bounce, right? It's just they're kind of like more or less for show. If you watch like old school wrestling, those ropes are droopy as shit, just droopy, right? Because nobody did that stuff. Now everybody's doing this shit. Fucking crazy.
Everybody wants to get on top of it now. Hey,
everybody does. Well, and then nobody knows how to fucking do a goddamn headlock or sell properly or cut a promo. It's just weird,
right? No,
that was the basics. That was the basics.
Normally, that's the basics. What you learn how to do first, and then you go from there. Now, the promotion that you're in SoCal right now, that you're announcing for, you had Hoot and Toot Guerrero on there, the last one. Now, it's interesting that he's still doing indies, and I figure he would be with somebody different, but. When's the rematch? I forgot.
I don't know. Well, it's not going to take place in SoCal Pro. It's going to take place in Mexico City. So I think SoCal Pro worked out a deal with Mexico City. I think he either has like tie-ins with that promotion or he owns the promotion. I'm not sure what. Because I just work there. I'm not like much of anybody there, you know. But I'm relatively sure they're just doing something in Mexico City. They already had Diz, who was his opponent at SoCal Pro. They already had him work against Hoovy in Mexico City, and Diz came under. So I think they want to do the right thing and put him over at SoCal Pro, and then he'll probably go back to Mexico City and again, and then do the favors, you know. But I'm not sure when that is, you know. But there's going to be, I think there's going to be, from what I understand, there's going to be a lot of SoCal Pro represented in Mexico very soon. They worked out a deal where they're
because it was a good you know, what I watched of it, you know, the matches were good. It normally, you know, with indies, you see a lot of you know, a lot of stuff that you don't see, you know, like you would, you know, in WWE or AEW. But in this case, they didn't go, you know, completely out of their way to try to impress everybody all over. They were actually just trying to wrestle, and which I was happy about.
Yeah, so am I. Hoovy's, you know, is as good as he is, as talented as he is. He's, you know, he's got to be pushing 50 at this point, right? He's an older guy.
And all the organizations that I ever knew about him, you know, they always said that he had problems with his mouth and stuff. And
I heard that. I heard that because I had a little bit of trepidation because this is the first time I was ever on a show with Hoovy. I talked to him backstage. And he was like, he was great with all the boys, and he actually came by. He actually like the night before or 2 nights before, he did like a free seminar over at the school. Taught a bunch of guys some things, and you know, his only thing is after the match, he went on the mic and said the F-bomb like 3 times, and he probably shouldn't have done that, but I think he was just excited. But no, I never had a problem. I didn't experience any of that. You know, we did promos with him where we had to fuck up and redo it, and he was just like, he was laughing at us, and you know, he had a great time. Everybody had a good time with him. So no, I didn't have any issues with him. I would imagine, right, as a lot of wrestlers do, probably came to a little bit of if I were to just take a guess, right, substance abuse, whether that be alcohol or drugs or whatever the case is, and it probably got the best of him at certain points. That happens. You know, you're talking about, you know, we take a lot of this stuff for granted when we watch this stuff on TV, you know, week after week after week. We're not thinking about all the house shows they're doing in between.
Oh,
like not seeing your family. You know, it's worse in the military. You know, you don't see your family. You're always on the road. You're in planes and you're in hotels, and you got to get 3 hours of sleep and then wake up and go to the next one. So, you know, a lot of these guys, you know, it's traveling circus, for Christ's sakes. And some of these people will fall victim to that. And it happens, unfortunately. So I'd imagine that's probably why, like, because I've seen like videos of him like in XPW and stuff when he was just like, you know, it appeared to be ballooned off his tits, you know. But I'd imagine that's just kind of it's the repercussions of being in this business as popular as some people.
Yeah, some of them, you know, some of them can't leave the business behind because 1, they didn't save enough money. 2, they can't they just love it so much that they just can't do it.
Yeah,
you know, like Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, man. Well, you know what? Look, and I know he gets a lot of shit for that last match, and I know he was
his last match, and I understand what he was trying to do. Yeah, try to still go after, you know, with almost dying and all that, and trying to prove. But you know what, dude, you gotta stop because you're gonna die in that ring otherwise.
Yeah. And honestly, I almost be okay with that. There was a movie.
Oh, that's exactly what I said, wasn't it? I think he'd be okay to die in it.
That's you know, I'm sure that's how he'd like to go. There's an old movie, like 80s, maybe even the 70s movie called Tap. This is about this famous tap player or whatever who had like health problems, and he said in the line, he said a line in the movie where they said, you got to stop doing this or you're going to die. He said, if I'm going to die, I'm going to have my tap shoes on. At the end of the movie, the wrestler is a great example of that with Mickey Rourke. When he, at the very end, when he jumps off the top rope and we know he's having a heart attack, we don't see what's happening.
Well, actually, yeah. Well, that one's up to interpretation, though. You think about it.
Well, I mean, yes, no, yeah.
Not unless you read if you read the book, it's different. But the movie, they leave it up to interpretation. Doesn't mean that he died at the end. Doesn't mean that he had the heart attack. It just means he flew off. He was having problems, but you don't know. It was just left like that.
Oh, he did.
Oh, he did. Yeah,
he did.
I would say
no. I'm just saying.
But yes, I think it does leave it up to interpretation. But I do think there was there's a subliminal thing there, and I'm pretty sure that, that we're supposed to believe that was the last movie he ever did, and in a way we were kind of happy for him that happened, right? And that's how the movie made us feel.
Yeah.
And in the case of Ric Flair, if he went, doing what he absolutely loved to do, even if people are shitting on it, right? He'd still die happy. That's his whole life is owed to wrestling. That's his whole life. Think about how many relationships and stuff he sabotaged for the sake of the business.
Well, his daughter said it himself. After his son passed away, that the only way that he made it through it is he has two personas. He has the Ric Flair and he has the Richard Flair.
Right.
And he lives the Ric Flair persona to the T every day.
And look, and I will tell you that it goes back to what I was saying before about like the way you cut promos, or you want to be a good heel or whatever the case, even a face, right? The way you do it is you have to really believe in that character. You have to become that character. And he has embodied that character. That's why he's so goddamn good. That's, not necessarily his last match, but that's why he's so good. That's why he's good at promos. That's why he's good at working and all that. It's because he truly believes in Ric Flair.
Right.
Which is great. You want to say, truth be told, all over, like all around worker, you get a lot of praise to like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold and everything. Ric Flair, bar none, is the absolute best worker of all time. I will say that unequivocally.
All right, now listen. This show was about Andy, not about WWE and Ric Flair.
Sorry, hold on. No. See,
I can go on for hours, man. I love.
Okay, now this is the question that I did ask Trevor yesterday, and okay, we talk about the best of all time, or the Mount Rushmore.
Your Mount Rushmore.
Your Mount Rushmore. Okay, now here's the whole thing. All right, I told Trevor yesterday, I don't believe in Mount Rushmores. I believe in errors.
Sure.
I don't think that there is a best of all time, because of the fact that there's so many, and there it's an era in which they're in. I believe that that's what it should be considered. And I use basketball as a reference to that, because they have the debate that's going on now about LeBron and Jordan.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, you could throw Kobe in there, and that just throws in the mix. I don't like any of them, but that's the point. But you talk about wrestlers. I say it's by error, because and then you got other people that say that like Chris Jericho. He says he named his 4, and he said he's not on there. He doesn't believe he's one of the Mount Rushmores, but he's damn good. But he doesn't. He believes in himself, but not enough to put himself out there like that.
Yeah.
So that question that Mark's asking you is, who are your 4? Do you do it by the decades, or do you?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, it would be fair, right? So,
Okay.
And I was an '80s baby. So, if you were just talking like the '80s, I mean, you have to. I think it'd be stupid, as much as it's played out, but it'd be stupid not to give a spot to Hogan on as far as the '80s go. He made. Right. I think he's the reason the '80s were successful. Outside of him in that time, probably Andre was another one that I would put out there. Not and anybody that knows about Andre before, like his one singlet heel run with Hogan, he was like one of the most over faces in the friggin' world.
Yeah, he was one. That...
So I would definitely throw Andre out there. I hate to say this too, but I think the Warrior deserves a spot in there too. And we're talking like, when we're talking now, like, break it all down like by how good the wrestler is.
Yeah.
No, but you're talking about like, as far as the worker goes, He doesn't get enough credit. I think he was just absolutely 100% amazing. This ball of intensity that really made.
His matches didn't last long. The more longer his matches went, the more gassed he did get.
Yeah, of course. But like again, we're talking like.
But his character was made to beat.
We are not watching wrestling. We're not. We have to. It just between us, right? We have all fallen for this fake thing. It's not real. That's not what we're watching. We're not watching wrestling. We're watching the soap opera.
Right. Well, it's a man soap opera, is what my wife tells me.
It totally it is. It is.
It is.
It totally is. Women have all their stuff, their reality TV shows and all that crap, and we have Hot Wheels and wrestling and Star Wars and shit. And that's our thing. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. The last one I put in like that era. I don't know. I don't know. To me, those would be the only ones that I would say were like that would be deserving of being recognized as like the greats during that time. Unless you want
no Jake the Snake.
No. And there's a reason I don't put Jake the Snake in there, and I think because Jake the Snake is a phenomenal wrestler. I think he can cut a mean promo. I definitely don't think he was one of the greatest of all time. That just like I put him in the same. It's sad as it is. I put him in the same league as like Hacksaw. I just
what about
I do,
Savage?
that's just my opinion. But I love Jake. I think he's phenomenal. But we can throw Rick. No, because I was gonna save that for my '90s era. But
okay. Ric Flair, you could even go there. You could. I mean, you don't even have to go from WWE. You had
I was a WWE guy, and granted, there was greats in like NWA and Smoky Mountain and all these phenomenal companies, AWA. But I always grew up as like a WWE type guy. The '90s are a little bit easier because I feel that was like, to me, that was the best decade in wrestling. And, it boomed in the '80s, but it really took off in the '90s, and I think that's where it goes. So definitely Savage would be in the '90s. The second one is my absolute favorite wrestler of all time. That's Kurt Hennig, and I think it's as the Mr. Perfect character was just absolutely phenomenal.
He didn't get what he deserved. I think letting him have a title run would have been really good for him. Of course, it probably went more up his nose, but
Well, again, it's this. He got a title run in the type of matches he was having. He was a great worker and a great wrestler, and that was
right. He was
intercontinental.
Right. He wore that belt perfect. He was a good workhorse for that title.
He was. Yeah, absolutely. My absolute favorite match is with him and Bret Hart at SummerSlam.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's one of my favorites.
It's my absolute favorite. I think that blows out Steamboat and Macho Mania 3.
Knowing what Henning was going through at that time with his
back and everything. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and it was an incredible match. Shawn Michaels for sure is in the '90s, and then it'd be like a tie between like Stone Cold and The Rock. I would say Stone Cold was definitely better than The Rock.
Stone Cold's been around. He's been around the block when he was Stunning Steve. Was it Stunning Steve Austin or Stunning Steve Williams?
It was Stunning Steve Austin. Yeah, and that was him
and Brian Pillman, man. Holy cow, dude! Yeah. Hey, Brian Pillman was probably one of my all-time favorite wrestlers.
I loved it when he went nuts. That's when he started. I liked him.
It sucks too because right after that, it's when everything went south. Obviously he had his injury, and then whatever, then the tragedy happened afterwards. Yeah. That was a bummer about Pillman. Pillman was just an amazing worker, worker.
Absolutely.
But again, it comes from this era of like WCW or former NWA talent that was just great. So you have your Brian Pillmans, and then you have your Ric Flairs, and you have like the Four Horsemen, and then you had Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, all these people that were just phenomenal. That I never really cared to watch because I was never about like watching like really good technical matches. I think Bret Hart, for example, is probably the best, well, maybe the second best technical wrestler in the world, at least for his time. And I never gave a shit about him.
We wanted the story. We did. And he couldn't deliver the story, right? He just couldn't cut a promo. I never had investment in any of his matches. I remember like and this is something good about Jake, and it wasn't even Jake, it was Earthquake at the time that really carried the story, was when Earthquake sat on his snake. And I remember him into the bag and crying.
Yes. Yes.
And that was like probably like one of my first experiences watching wrestling. And I said, I really want to see Jake the Snake Roberts kick Earthquake's ass for that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's that story. And really the best thing, going back to Bret Hart, and I hate talking about other people, but going back to Bret Hart, the best thing that could have ever happened to him in hindsight is the Montreal Screwjob.
Absolutely.
That's what made him famous. It wasn't this Canadian hero shit that he does or whatever. It's a Canadian screw job the Montreal screw job that really kind of set him.
McMahon
apart.
started that story for him.
Yeah, and by the way, listen, and I might, I know I'm not alone in these feelings, but I'm definitely the minority. I still think the whole thing's a fucking work. 100%.
It could be. It really could.
Yeah, I do.
You think the whole thing was a work the whole time?
Look. When you lay out all the pieces, never in wrestling before or since has everything been mapped out so incredibly perfectly to cause that story to happen. Nothing. You can talk about screw jobs all day long. You talk about the moolah thing and all this other stuff. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened.
Yeah.
Nothing. And
it's just, you come back and
too much of a coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. That's what a lot of people have said. That could be a work. When he came back to the WWE, which I never would have, anyways. Knowing what happened to his brother, and if something like that, if I got screwed out of a job, and all this, and I never would have went back myself.
Oh, no, look for somebody as prideful as he is, right? At least seemingly prideful as he is. Do you think he would just come back because Vince McMahon called him in the hospital and said, "I'm sorry"?
Not a chance.
No, money talks though.
I would disagree for someone like Bret, who cares more about his public image. You go to anything you ever see with Bret Hart in his house it's a shrine of Bret Hart. That's what he fucking cares about. Yeah. He cares about his own self-image. I'm alone in this. Okay, I know many people who have affiliated with Bret Hart and have a relationship with Bret Hart. Listen, I do not represent my friends, so please don't take it out on them. But I will say the pieces were too well fit to make him leave in such a way that it worked out great for everybody. Had WCW done a little bit more work with the circumstance they were given, right? So, and we'll say all of them, and this is another thing too, is that Bret will go on and say how much of an idiot Eric Bischoff was, and Bret Hart did not put the fucking work in to make himself over. The only time he was ever over is when WWF put him in positions to be over, and even then he wasn't over. The most over he's ever
they didn't want him.
He came in white hot, and everybody fucked it up.
They didn't want him as champion. They needed a smaller guy at that point in time to be champion.
With WCW or WWF?
No, WWE or WWF at the time.
So Bret Hart walked into Mania 9. That was my first Mania. It was Mania 9. Walked into Mania 9, lost the belt to Yoko, who immediately dropped it to Bret. Right? Or dropped it to Hogan.
Dropped it to Hogan. Well, yeah. After that, when Flair lost it to Bret, they needed somebody at that point in time to take over that wasn't muscular, because that was when they were going through this part of the steroids. So they chose Bret. Well,
so yes, and Bret Hart was great for that image. Great for this whole thing is not blah blah blah, and once that was all done, that was in like what late 92 to 93 or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And once that was over, they cast him aside. They didn't need him. He wasn't a good champion. He didn't.
When Hogan came. Yeah, when Hogan came back and okay, I'm gonna do this, and then you're supposed to drop it to me, and he doesn't do that, and we already knew how Hogan was. Okay, now, all right. We're not going to go any further on Mount Rushmore.
Sorry.
No.
I can talk all day. I'm passionate. I know. As much as I hate what wrestling has become, I'm very passionate about this topic.
Oh, I love wrestling. I love all different types of wrestling. I really do. I love watching New Japan. I like watching the luchadors. I really love watching the luchadors, especially the flips and shit, stuff that they do. But what is the best?
To swear?
No. We're good. Mark's playing PG-13 right now. I think we may have said shit, fuck, or hell one too many times.
I don't know. I'm so used to saying. But
I'm sorry. I thought by the name, I was just like, okay, this is an all out. Let's just
out.
No. Well, here's the question I have though. What is the best storyline that's ever been told in wrestling?
Montreal Screwjob.
Other than that,
the best work ever in wrestling. Shoot, I don't know, man. There's been some really good ones.
You got to think about the longest
well,
running,
see,
and that's
here's the problem with that, though. I mean, you can say, you could say, people.
it's the
thinking
NWO for me.
People thinking that Sting
No.
was turning.
Yeah.
They
I
could
got
say,
I
or
got it.
Randy Savage and Hogan, or stuff like that. But,
No, I
there's a
got
lot
it.
of good-
I got it. 100%.
Okay.
I got it. It was the Mankind face turn with his vignettes with Jim Ross. It's the best storyline they ever did. Like it was the because you think about Stone Cold, right? And I don't care what they say, I don't think they intended for Stone Cold to turn face when he did. I don't think.
I think that was.
And you can tell, and they won't even show it. But I remember watching the next night on Raw when he came out, and you can tell he was coached in this. He came out and said, you guys are cheering me, but I don't care because none of you helped me got to where I am. And blah, cut a total heel promo, crapped all over the crowd, and said, no, blah blah blah. The Rock was over. So Stone Cold was over organically. It wasn't due to storyline. The Rock was over organically, not due to storyline. He was just organically there, right? Mick Foley was brought out from a storyline to give sympathy towards somebody, and somebody who turns on good old JR and gives him the mandible claw at the end of this many weeks of segments of interviews, because people resonate with this character who has lost his mind simply because he couldn't be who he wanted to be. It touches everybody, because every wrestling fan in the world, I don't care, there's no hardcore wrestling fan that I know of that isn't at least progressed out of or still is the world's biggest nerd. You know what I mean? The people that like this, I'm sorry, I know that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? The people that like this activity, if you go to live shows and stuff, you know what I mean? They're all wearing the shirts and they got their replica belts, and back in my day, they had signs. These are the people that watch wrestling, and more than likely these are people that are not the jocks and the stars and the most popular kids at school, right? That's who Mick Foley is, right? And we went from somebody who was just beating the devil out of the Undertaker a few months prior, right, to telling this story about somebody who he really wanted to be, and at the end of it, turning on JR and still coming out as one of the biggest faces in the entire company. And he didn't even do anything spectacular in wrestling. Awful wrestler, just an awful wrestler. But just
hurt himself a bunch.
Mr. Sacco.
So look, and again, I don't think this is organic too. This wasn't due to storyline. I don't think they intended on Mr. Sacco being as over as it was. Right?
No, that was awesome though.
But it was fantastic, and really, and I'll tell you what made that whole segment with that. It wasn't. It was Mr. Sacco, obviously. That kind of came over on that, but it wasn't that. It was Vince, and I'll tell you, there's a part in there where he's just like, Mick, please leave.
In the hospital,
and then they break out the balloons or whatever, and he looks and he goes, damn it, leave. And it was it was the most magical moment when you just look at it and you can just see it's almost, you guys have kids. It's like this time with the kids. It's like, guys, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Yeah. Go to bed already. Yeah. It's like that. And it was just great. It's like, damn it, leave. Just watch back the video. It's my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Purple and everything else. But I will say that I do think those vignettes, that storyline with Mick Foley turning him into a face, really was probably, at least that immediately sparked in my mind, is one of the greatest things they ever did in wrestling. I love
best feud. 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 What is the best feud, do you think?
Okay, I would say the absolute. So it was. I think it sparked up. So my favorite absolute feud ever in wrestling was Shawn Michaels and Rick Martel, and that was. And
over Sherry.
Sherry, yeah. And I'll tell you what made it so great was it's the only match that I know of in recent memory, anything that kind of comes to mind that stands out as the first like bad guy on bad guy match.
Yes.
And because the storyline going into that, right? And if you remember, the storyline going into that was they were both so good looking that Sherry made them agree to not punch each other in the face, so they wouldn't hurt their face. And I remember watching this with such like angst, and I was just like, who's gonna do it? Who's gonna punch you in the face? And it was great when they with this whole thing where you watched it and didn't care who won. You know what I mean? Like you watch back that match at SummerSlam, and you're watching it like you just want to see them beat the crap out of each other, and you don't care who does what, as long as Sherry ends up getting crapped on in the end. And of course we got that. But to me, that's my absolute like favorite feud. Other than that, like seriousness, one that would stand out behind was Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter leading up to Mania
7. Right? Yeah. Actually, my favorite feud of all time would be Jerry Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich.
Okay, so we're talking like old school.
Yeah. That way, I'm not talking. I'm just talking all together. I mean, that was one of my favorite because they got down and bloody in those matches.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Von Erichs. I can't wait for that movie.
That movie's. I hope that they do it right.
Well, I love Jerry Lawler stuff with Andy Kaufman. I've always
everybody loved. Yes.
Well, before the movie, I think the movie like really kind of crapped the bed when it came to like telling the story of Andy Kaufman. But I loved like watching old school stuff with Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. It was just so well done.
Back then, the wrestling was a lot different. They could tell a story. Even in the ring, they told the story, not just outside the ring. Yeah,
it was believable. So look, and this is, and I promise I won't talk too much about other people, but I will say this about wrestling, right? With the way society has changed, right? We went from the Attitude Era where nobody gave a crap about anything to this
PG shit,
whatever this is we're in now, and we're kind of starting to kind of like maybe dip in a little bit, but that's not remotely. It's never going to go back.
We're never going to go back to the Attitude Era. We're never going to have that.
No, we're never going to have that again. But I will say that wrestling has become, in my opinion, fundamentally worse because people are so prudent to the fact now that that's all a ruse, right? When Kaufman and Lawler were doing their thing, people were legitimately pissed off and they thought it was real because of the things that Andy Kaufman was saying about women and the South, right? You can't get away with that now. There was and I can't remember who it was. There was a worker in, was it AWA back in like late 80s, early 90s. I remember watching these shows, and this guy would come in and would not work a match if there was a black referee. I was like, that's good heat. It's really good heat.
Yes, he was one of the Southern men in AWA. He hated. He was always had a Confederate flag. I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
I don't remember his either, but I remember like thinking like, God, that's really mean. You can't do that now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like one of my favorite things to do in wrestling is, I'd go out and, I would often push that envelope and be racist and, pick on like, black people or Latino people or whatever the case is. And that's why we would get over really well with like lucha shows because we'd throw like tortillas at the audience and, say a whole bunch of like mean racist stuff. And everybody's so afraid to do that now. If I was in shape and younger, right, I would go back and I totally still try to push that envelope. And we were talking about MJF. MJF still pushes that envelope, and he doesn't always do it on TV, right? But if you watch like fan cams and stuff like that,
yes,
he's swearing up a storm and he's saying all this racist stuff, and
he's trying to keep kayfabe. He's trying to keep it. He's
and
trying to blur that line,
and it's good.
But a lot of wrestlers don't do it no more. They don't keep that.
And that's the thing. We can't. We're so afraid of getting canceled.
Social media.
Society's become so soft, and it's unfortunate because that's why people aren't as over as they used to be. Whether you be a heel or a face, you know what I mean. The faces aren't over anymore because the heels aren't as mean as they could be, right?
Right.
And so that's.
Here's another question. If you never had a retirement match, have you?
You had
your farewell match. You had a farewell match together as Anchor Way.
Right.
You had your and you guys never wrestled after that. Right. Yeah, I mean, he said that you guys probably did a thing here or there or whatever. But if you could, if your body would allow you, would you like to go one more time?
Yeah, if it was a one more time thing, right?
With
And
Ric Flair. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
One more match.
Yeah.
If it was a one more time thing, you know, and the circumstances were right, and I'm not talking about.
I'll send Brian back over to California. Last time.
I'm a jobber, bud. What do you want from me?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever worked with Brian, but I know I had I know I squashed him one time, and he was a referee in a corner. I ran into him. I remember that. Yeah. That was the Ocean Beach Fair. I think.
No, I got a receipt from you because I almost clotheslined you while you were on the second rope, and you almost went out.
Yeah. It sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. So he says, he pulls me to the middle of the ring, and he says, "Here's your receipt," and I get the pop right in the dome.
Yeah.
and then he throws me over the top rope, and I'm done.
Yeah. That's, you know what, and I'll be honest, I've had many of receipts. You know, I've screwed up and gotten punished for it. You know, and that's you know, that's wrestling. It's fun. You know, then you hug it out later in the dressing room. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the circumstances were right and if it made sense. Now, and I'll tell you unequivocally, and I'll say this, you know, over and over again, as because I think me and Trevor definitely had our popularity. We were working every weekend, sometimes multiple times in weekends, right? We were pretty popular. We were tag team champions at a lot of different promotions multiple times. I had a tryout with WWE. We wrestled on ROH together. We definitely had momentum, right? We're talking about, at this point, like the last time we ever wrestled like consistently, probably about 10 years ago. Fans are fickle, right? Unless you're this very, very over the top star in a major company, they're fickle, right? Nobody would care. And I hate to say that, right? Nobody, at least very few people, let me put it that way. If I were to come back at SoCal Pro tomorrow, nobody would care. But few would, right?
Yeah, but I'm not saying for, you know, just for your one last
year. Yeah. And here's why I say it has to be right? I will say that in wrestling is a very taking business inherently by nature, right? Wrestling as a business takes more than it gives. That's how it succeeds, right? I cannot put myself in a position where I come back just for the sake of my happiness. It has to make sense on a show, right? The booker has to make money. Because people are going to pay money to see that show, and if my name is attached to that show, I have to be able to give it something.
Right. Okay.
So that would be my only hang up with coming back. Truth be told, I didn't want to retire when I did. You know, I didn't want to leave when I did. It was, you know, obviously we both ran into circumstances where, you know, my wife was about to give birth to triplets, and Trevor was moving across the country. And it was, you know, I felt as though it was my responsibility to not carry on almost without him. I try to like tell him like, hey, look, why don't we just turn on each other and then we'll have a match, and, you know, I'll send you a packet. And then he said, well, what if I want to come back? You know, what are we going to do then? Well, crap, you know. So we really couldn't come to terms with how it would work if I just continued on my own. But, you know, I would have loved to have had a couple more years in me when I did leave, because I wasn't in bad enough shape where I had to leave. It was really more about the fact that Trevor was going, and, you know, life was going to get a little bit more difficult for me, but it wasn't going to be impossible to make shows every now and then. So yeah, but every time I go to training, or, you know, I help out with like, you know, like a promo class, or I do like we run, SoCal Pro runs a weekly episodic SCP TV, they call it. When I do that and I talk to all the boys and stuff, I can't tell you how much I miss it. You know, when I ring announce, and, you know, I hang out in the locker rooms, and, you know, I have a genuine love for the business. And yes, I do believe that selfishly I would want that. But for the sake of the business, I wouldn't put myself in the position unless I felt the business could benefit from me being.
Unless one of the bookers decided to make one of the wrestlers, just beat the holy hell out of you or something like that.
Right. And yeah, because then that would kind of make sense. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then people might want to see the comeuppance. Right. But that's something that a booker would have to put in place. I will never go to Jeff Dino. He's the one who owns SoCal Pro. I won't go to Jeff Dino and say, hey, I want somebody to beat me up so I can have my vengeance and do this match. I won't, because it's his money. It's how he feeds his family.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I won't ask that of him.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it would be hard because you can't just go to the booker and say, hey, bitch, I'm wrestling.
Right.
Okay.
I used to. I could. I could have, like, back in the day.
Well, you had a promotion. You could have done anything you wanted to.
We were over. Yeah, and when I had my own promotion, and that was another thing too. I tried my best when we were running our own promotion.
Not to put the belts on yourselves.
On was because I wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted to spare money on other guys. I was like, well, we'll work for free. Let's put us on the card. And oftentimes we'd lose or whatever, and we put the belts on us once, and we lost it on the next show, and we did it just to transition to the next.
Right.
Because we had another face team or heel team, because we were faces there.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I had.
And that's something else I inherently firmly disagree with. I hate the fact that bookers put themselves on shows, or that promoters put themselves on shows. That era of like the evil Mr. McMahons and all this shit stuff is long gone, right? Yeah. It's gone. And people only do it because they're selfish and they're not getting booked anywhere else. And especially if you're putting yourself in like a high caliber match or a main event match, you are garbage, in my opinion. You have absolutely no purpose doing this because you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Well, that's the only thing that I like that Tony Khan has done is he does not like to be on TV
yet. Well, he's still look, and I'll tell you this.
Well, yeah.
And I will never work there, so it doesn't matter. But I have friends in AEW. I have really good friends in AEW. I will tell you, there's no way in hell that Tony Khan is not 100% ballooned off his tits. That dude is either a meth addict or a coke addict. You can tell by the way he looks and talks.
He's a cokehead.
Stupid fights he pulls, and the fact that he's there and these little stupid press conferences and all this other crap. He puts himself over all the friggin' time. He's just never in the ring doing it.
Right. Yeah. Like you said. Yeah. I mean, to me,
he's a mark with some money.
Yes. Exactly.
And I hate to say that, but that's how I feel about that dude. I don't care. I'm never gonna get booked, so I can give a crap.
Well, no, that's what me and Brian were talking about earlier, and that's what we when we were talking to Trevor, I was like, well, what do you think about Tony Khan? And he goes, well, he's basically what we call, and he said that he hated the term a mark. And I'm like, okay, right.
He's the mark with the money.
He is.
He likes the big people. That's who he's going to put. That's why I don't like I don't like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega because of that reason. That they put the titles on themselves. It shouldn't be that way. If you're an EVP or president of an organization, a wrestling organization, you should not have a title.
The Young Bucks hated us. Like I remember hated us when we were working like indies and stuff, because we wrestled one match with the Bucks, and in their promo they did like a shoot thing about like how we were, because at the time we were in the lead. There's this message board on SoCal for wrestling that has like these yearly awards, and we were winning over them for the tag team of the year, and they basically called us out and accused us of like fudging the numbers on the boards. But working with them, they've been pretty. They were easy. They're obviously the phenomenal wrestlers, and I'll give them all the credit in the world. But yes, they had their hand in the pot, and of course, they did what most people will do in that position, and they'll give themselves all the praise and all the gold and all that sort of fun stuff and blah blah blah. But yes, Tony Khan is, and this is why, and I will say this. This is another prediction of mine. I give AEW, I will give at max another 2 years before it folds, or at the very least before it becomes like what TNA has become. It's not run for the right reasons. Look, you have all this in TNA. When TNA started to boom, right? When did TNA start to falter? It's when they brought in all the ex-WWE guys.
Yeah,
that you can sync it up, right, with a graph and say, this is when we brought in the WWE guys, and this is when everything started to kind of go downhill, because you had this nice little spike, right, and everything started to plummet, right? Because what people like with these corporations or these companies that aren't WWE, right, is they're not WWE guys. We don't want to see them. They're good for star power and they're good to bring in on like one-offs and blah, blah, blah. They have their own roster, just like TNA. They had their, they had Samoa Joe and they had
AJ Styles,
Rude. They had Styles. So
Yep.
they had all these people that were Chris Daniels. They were doing all these things with their own talent, and that was the alternative. Just like AEW when they did their All Out and All In and all this stuff. It was their own guys, their own breed or whatever. And then what did we do? We brought in people like CM Punk and the Big Show.
That's stuff that they didn't need. They had their own power. They had their own power working with them, and that's what I said. And I hated that. I hated that they were bringing in WWE guys or even NXT guys. I hated it because it was taken away from like Jungle Boy. They're still pushing him, but not like they were.
I've trained him. Where's the dime? I'm going to drop a dime. I trained him once. I'm sorry, and I'm like really bad with wrestling. But big, tall, masked guy. His friend.
Luchasaurus.
Yeah. Whatever what's and his real name. Oh my God, I can't remember.
I can't remember his real name right now.
Austin's his real name. But yeah, I remember when I was training, when I was helping train for my old trainer, he was like, they were both like in there. And I remember like thinking like Jungle Boy, I was just like, well, he's going to be a star. He's Luke Perry's kid. He's going to be really popular. And, obviously he was totally for different reasons than I thought, but yeah. But yeah, it does. It takes away from those people that are, like Darby Allin and all these other people that are just their own
those are the company
talent,
guys, yeah.
which is what put them on which is kind of what put them on the map, obviously with a lot of financial backing, right? But I think they had a good head of steam where they could have made their own people shine. And what did they do? They did the same formula that has failed in the past, right?
The same shit that WCW did.
Same shit that WCW did, same shit that TNA did, and nobody gets it. Nobody gets it because everybody's like, oh, well, we got to be like WWE. You don't understand. You're the alternative. You need to be different. You have to be different, right? And there's no difference. And that's another reason why wrestling sucks. It's whether you watch AEW or WWE, it's all WWE. It is.
Yeah.
Same
now, Trevor said something before we got off the air last night. He said, ask you what was the funniest thing that happened in the ring. He would not tell us what it was. He told us
he's got a story, and he was tight-lipped about it, and he said, "Nope, ask Andy. I think I know what he's going to say."
I don't know. I don't know if you ever heard this story. Well, I could tell you, Trevor and I would always try to make each other laugh. Always, in the ring. And I remember just not too long ago, I was at a SoCal Pro training. And I was telling the guys, like, you're eventually going to get into a point where you're not so worried about what's coming up next, so much as you are just trying to pop each other in the ring, because it's going to be fun. You're going to get that comfortable with it. And when we got that comfortable with it, we often did different stuff to make ourselves laugh in the ring. But this one was, at least it appeared to be unintentional, but knowing it came from Trevor, it was totally intentional. So this is what happened. We were, and I guarantee this is the story because he loves this story. It's his favorite story ever. We were wrestling a match, and we always had this spot. And you have to kind of have a little bit of imagination. We always had this spot where I get put up in the Tree of Woe. And if you know what the Tree of Woe is, it's basically when somebody puts you up for an atomic drop, and they sit you on the top turnbuckle instead. So you're facing out. And then they bring you down. So you're hanging upside down in the corner, right?
Okay.
And our favorite thing to do with that spot was I would be hung up in the Tree of Woe. Trevor would come in. Somebody would body slam Trevor. So his legs were open. So I'm looking upside down at his crotch. And then they would come down, like the faces would both exit the ring and pull each one of his legs and slide his crotch into my face. And then I would fall backwards. And so we would be in like this 69 position, and we would just sit there and sell it. But it looked like it was this gross thing, and everybody would laugh. And we did that spot so many times. It was just great. It was phenomenal. So one night we did it the other way around, where Trevor was hung up in the Tree of Woe. So I got slammed, and they pulled my crotch into his face, and he came down on me and did the whole the 69 spot. And as soon as he came down, I heard a thud and the most thunderous fart I've ever heard in my life. And I felt the vibration. And I remember screaming. God. I remember screaming like, "You mother effer!" But I was muffled because I was in his crotch. Like, I guarantee that's the story because that's probably his proudest moment all in wrestling. It's just
He ate before the match or something.
The next time we have him on, we'll have to ask him.
Yeah,
Now,
that's what it was. I guarantee that's what it is.
Okay.
He loves that story.
One last thing before we call it a night.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we could be here forever actually talking about wrestling and everything
That's
else.
fine. I love wrestling. Yeah.
Oh, so do I. But it's getting late over here, and Brian's got to work in the morning.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just quit my job. It's great. You should try it.
No.
Yeah.
I don't make TikTok money yet.
It's all right. Okay. There you go.
All right. You are the king of promos. I want you, according to Trevor, you're the king of promos. I want you to make a promo on why people should watch us. Because I'm going to use it for a promotional.
Okay, you want me to do it like a heel promo, or you want me to do it like a
do the heel
because doing a face promo, nah.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to see a face promo. All right, give me 30 seconds. Let me.
You got it.
One or two.
All right.
We don't put him on the spot, bro.
No, it's good. No, don't worry. It's not gonna take me too long. All right. Okay. Let's see it. Let's see if I still got it.
Let's see if you got it.
Can I say the S word?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay.
No filter.
Okay. Okay. All your life, you've been sitting there eating shit, sleeping shit, and drinking shit. All your life has been shit. Well, why not try talking some shit? Check out Mark and Brian on Talking Shit today and get your dose of talking shit.
There you go.
Yes.
That word. Now I want to play with it. Play with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that. We really do.
No, thank you guys for having me on. I do appreciate it.
Hey, we want to have you back.
But this time it's going to. Yeah, this time it's going to be with Trevor also.
Yes.
But we got to make sure that the time lines up since somebody don't know how to tell time.
Sorry.
It was definitely Mark's fault. It was Mark's fault.
I remember I was sending you both like messages or whatever, and I was seeing it got seen but not sent. I was just like, these guys are pissed, dude. And I'm like, I felt so bad.
When I was talking to you or when we were going back and forth, I was like, okay, I'm talking with Trevor, so I seen it, but I wasn't trying to stop talking. Right. And so I'm reading these guys the messages, and they're laughing their ass off.
Yeah. I don't know. And I was thinking too, I was like, God, I hope they're just like, they're just like, having a good old time with it and just making fun of me.
Oh, we had fun. I'll tell you that. Trevor definitely, he definitely helped.
Remind me next time we talk. I'll tell you about the time I actually showed up to a show a week early by accident. I did. I remember I called the promoter. I was like, "Hey, bro, where's the truck?" I posted there on fumes. Didn't have enough gas to get home, so I was counting on the payday.
Oh my god! I need that 20.
Yeah, it was bad.
Andy, put your socials out there for the people that will watch this. I'm positive that you're going to have a bunch of followers come in.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Check me out on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I guess Facebook. You got a Reels thing. Everything is Andrew Jassick at Andrew Jassick. Check me out on there. I there's only one of me in the world, so it'll be hard to miss. So yeah, please give me a follow and let me know. Let me know you follow me. I'll follow you back.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He's awesome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. And we'll try to get. So we're gonna try to figure out how to get you and Trevor on. I think in April.
Yeah. Let me know when, and
I'll let you. We'll let you know ahead of time, so you don't go making other plans.
Okay.
We'll text you every 15 minutes.
Like seriously, like okay, seriously. It's funny because I saw your text like we're going live in 5 minutes, and that was like 15 minutes past time you went live. I'm like, oh.
You're like, excuse me?
I was like, what?
Yeah, that was the reason why we were trying to hold off, and then Trevor came in,
I know. God.
and then we were like, okay, shit, we're gonna go live with Trevor.
That's
tell your wife.
He carried me again.
Tell your wife to make sure that she does a hell of a lot more funnier stuff, because I'm a big fan of hers, and I guess yours. I guess yours too.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andy.
You're very welcome. You have a good night. Okay.
You too. Take
you
care.
too.
Bye, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Andrew Jassick. You will also know him as
Shithead.
the guy that shows up late to a podcast. No, I'm just kidding. David E. Jones, if you want to check out some indie wrestling. Yeah.
Go check out
Acres Away.
Our SoCal Pro Wrestling. They're on YouTube. Check them out also. He all he does is just announces them. That's all.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah, that's all.
I bet he's really good at that though.
Probably.
Yeah.
If you can hear him. Sometimes the crowd's louder than he is.
The man cuts a better promo than anybody that I'm telling you.
Well, I'm gonna find a way of using that to our advantage. Anyways, we have one other thing. Who do we have Wednesday?
This Wednesday, we're going to have Tex.
It'll be our last Wednesday show. We're going to go Tuesdays and Thursdays from here on out. Unless we have something special, then we'll do another,
Oh, by the way, I have something special. I'm going to keep that cat in the bag, but I'm going to need everybody to go on to maybe the History Channel or A&E.
A&E.
It's one of those channels. Get over there while you got a chance and check out a little TV show called Swamp People Serpent Invasion. Let me know what you think about that show. Send us a message over here on Facebook, because here in the future, we're going to have something planned out for you guys.
And it's not a live creature I'm touching, so I'll tell you that.
Mark's getting a bunch of snakes in the house.
Oh, fuck no. Fuck you.
Well, guys, it has been super awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us here on Talking Shit. I know that we typically go an hour, hour and a half. We hit the 2 hour
we go
mark.
You know what? We'll go wherever we want now. I don't care.
That's right. We hit the 2 hour mark tonight with Andy. And once again, man, he was fantastic. Go check out Andy on all his socials. He is funny. He's just a down-to-earth guy, and we couldn't have asked for a better guest, man, tonight. So
go over and check out Deluxe Edition Network. You'll find tons of great podcasts over there, especially Bev's Video Kingdom. They got some good shows going on. Check them out. They're also the podcast of the month. I mean, you gotta love them. And I guess until next time,
we'll catch you.
We'll catch you later. And don't forget, on Wednesday, 8 p.m., we'll have Tex from TikTok,
Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched them, go check them out. Mark, do you have his handle? Is it just Tex on people can watch him on TikTok?
I just typed in Tex.
Or the guy that sounds like Ryan Reynolds, the guy that dresses up like,
and I'm hoping to get
Deadpool.
some good shit out of him. But until next time, I'm Mark.
I'm Brian.
Later.
Later.